Shana Tova. My name is Rachel Bergstein, and I am going to talk to you today about material culture and the Yamim Noraim. So material culture is the objects in our lives, and historians study material culture to understand things about people who lived in the past. So let me give you an example. Here, I have an apple and honey plate. See it here? It says on the bottom, Shana Tova. I bought this last summer with my family when we were in Israel for the summer. So to me, it represents family, it represents a family trip, it represents Israel. It also will always remind me of the fact that I have relatives who gave us a gift certificate to a particular store. We went to that store, and this was in the price range for what the gift card that we had, and it's something that we didn't own before. We didn't have an apple and honey plate. So that's what it represents to me. However, the question is, 50, 100, 150 years from now, when historians are studying my life and the life of my family, what will they say about me based on this object and based on other objects that I have? So they can say things about my religious practice. They can understand things about my economic status. They can probably find out about the artist and figure out where I purchased it. They can see if I have if I have a collection of things, if I have one apple and honey plate, or if I have many, many more. And they can make certain assumptions about my life based on this one particular object. Now I want to share with you three of my favorite historical objects that have to do with the Yamim Noraim. Let me show it to you right now. So my first is a sukkah. Some of you may have seen the sukkah. It's fully intact in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. So this is a sukkah it was made in 1830s in southern Germany. And it depicts a family, the family that put it together. So here is my favorite part. If you look closely, you can see a hunting scene. There's a dog, there are two men with guns, and they are hunting. This is very unusual for a Jewish object. And I love the imagery. It may be the person who owned the sukkah, and may be sort of the baron in the town, but I really like it nonetheless. Across, this is the wall with the scene of the hunting. Across from that is the other wall. Let me show you here. It depicts the town. And you can see actually the synagogue. You can see the mother of the family here at the door greeting her guests for the Sukkot holiday, which is lovely. And then in the center column here, you see depictions of Jerusalem, of Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, and there's a few different biblical scenes portrayed here too. So what does this object tell us about the family? Well, it's quite unusual to have a hand-painted, multi-paneled sukkah. It's unusual today, and it was unusual in 1830s Germany. So it tells us that the family had means, right? They could hire someone, an artist, to produce this object of artistic beauty. It's quite large. They also had the means to store such an object. And in fact, it was passed down from generation to generation in this family. They used it for continuous use for about 100 years until eventually the family smuggled it out in the 1930s to Palestine, and it landed in the Israel Museum. It also tells us something about this family's values. About all, they had a large sukkah. They must have used it, right? And they probably had many guests or a large family. It tells us about their economic status. It tells us about their values. They love the town they live in. They value it. They have a depiction of it. And then they also value kind of a Mizrach, Eastern scene of Jerusalem and the biblical scene. So it brings all those elements together. Here is a very different object. I have two Rosh Hashanah cards from the turn of the century, around 1900, and these were made in New York. If you take a look at this Rosh Hashanah card, first of all, we see here Lady Liberty. We see it on her hat. It says America spelled out in Yiddish. And she is opening the gates to the Jews who are coming, the Jewish immigrants who are coming from Russia and the Pale of Settlement, Eastern Europe. And on the bottom of the screen, it says, Pitchu li sharei tzedek, open for me the gates of righteousness. So here is a clear messaging about what America means to the Jewish immigrants coming at the turn of the 20th century. that America is a welcoming place. They are opening the gates for Jews. And it was very meaningful for a Jew in America to be sending this postcard back to their relatives and friends back home in the Pale of Settlement. Here is another one of my favorites here. It's another Rosh Hashanah card. It says, Happy New Year, L'Shana Tova. And on the top, under the eagles, you can see the writing says, Utzel knafecha tastirenu. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. And here we also see an imagery, a positive imagery of immigration to America. We have the Jews who have already come to America, and you see they're well-dressed. They've been successful in America, reaching out their arms to the Jews of Europe, the Jews who are holding all of their belongings in their hand. They look sad, they're looking downtrodden. And the Jews in America are reaching out to them and saying, come to this wonderful place that will be sheltered in the wings of America. Very positive imagery. An image of America as the Golden Medina, the golden land, the place where Jews can make their fortune and be successful. Let me stop here. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my little tour of a few different elements of material culture, of Jewish material culture that have to do with the Chagim that we're approaching. And as we sit in our homes and as we pull out, we spend a lot of times in our homes, and sometimes we don't pay so much attention to the objects around us. As we bring out any kind of special objects we have for Rosh Hashanah, or for Sukkot, or for Simchat Torah, or for any of the Chagim that are coming up, I hope you will take a moment to think about it, think about what that object means to you, and think about what that object really says about you, your life, and what historians will one day look back and understand about you. Shana Tova, everyone.